The slain UCT Film and Media Studies student Uyinene Mrwetyana will be laid to rest today at her hometown in the Eastern Cape. But before she goes to a final resting place, a funeral service is underway in East London. Uyinene was murdered in Cape Town. A 43-year-old post office employee is in custody after confessing to her murder. We now cross to Busisiwe Jemsana-Mantashe, who is in East London and is joined by Buti Manamela, who is, of course, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education. A very good morning to you, Busisiwe. Won't you take us through what has been happening throughout the morning and what is still to come?
A very good morning, pal. Well, the funeral service of Uyinene Mrwetyana is well underway here in East London, Abbotsford Christian Centre. They started with a small family process at her home, where the family had a short prayer. They then proceeded to Abbotsford. If I can give you a picture of the mood, it was a very somber mood as the family bids their farewell to Uyinene. Mourners dressed in black. They proceeded to here Abbotsford. Police Minister Bekicele is expected to give a message, deliver a message to the bereaved family. Premier Oscar Mabuyane, Higher Education Deputy Minister Buti Manamela, who joins me now, pal. Because some of the things that have been said by the president is that the first step would be to look at higher education, the safety of students there. There's been protests over the safety of students, in particular female students at higher education institutions. So we're going to talk to Buti Manamela about that. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time. It's a debate across the country. There's been an outcry from universities, and now the president has announced that he will be meeting with vice chancellors of universities. Perhaps it's a step towards the right direction.
Look, firstly, good morning to viewers, and also just to extend our heartfelt condolences as the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, because this is not a loss for the family. It's a loss for the higher education sector. It's a loss for the country. And now and then, as a country, we get woken up by these realities of young people losing their lives. And some of these young people are students. But we approach it as a problem of society. If you recall, in the case of Uyinene, she had gone to the post office to go and run her own routines. And, the next thing we learned was that she's lost her life. And we think that the bigger problem is a societal problem. And that's why the different ministries this week, instructed by the president, issued a statement indicating that government is committed to make sentences harsher for those who commit crimes against sexual crimes against women, but also to ensure that we strengthen safety and security in our country. But also, as a department, we have instructed universities to ensure that they comply with the policy guidelines that we have set in place, which the minister will soon be gazetting, which instruct them to ensure that they strengthen security on our campuses, they improve the state of accommodation on our campuses, because shared accommodation leads to some of these, situations. But I think of importance, it's also about a discussion in society, because policies and security alone are not enough. If we do not change the perception, particularly of men in our society, we will not be able to deal with the scourge of violence against women. I emphasize the point that, some of the perpetrators of sexual, gender-based violence, for instance, are people in our communities, people in our families, people in our churches, people in our streets, communities, villages, and all of that. And these are people that we live with on a daily basis. And if we do not challenge them, if we do not engage them, if we do not suffocate them from our communities, we will not be able to defeat this particular scourge. And we think that it has to start there. It has to start with us. And of course, I'm not saying this to negate the fact that government is going to be central in the fight. We believe that we have to play that leadership role. We have to ensure that we lead society, but society has to be involved. I think at the end of the day, that's where it all lies.
But how do you begin then to shape society, to shape the thinking of men, to change their psyche? Because as you say, as you put it, some of these men are men that these people trust. Baby Lee was allegedly killed by her boyfriend. Angelique was allegedly killed by her husband. How do you change the mentality of men so that they move past thinking that women can be victims?
I think, an important observation is the fact that most, gender-based violence perpetrators are perpetrators who know their victims. It's either the boyfriend, the brother, and all of that. And I think it has to do with a particular change in discourse in society. And the fact that it's people that, the victims know shows that no matter how much policies we put in place as government, we may not be able to, defeat gender-based violence if we do not change the perception. It starts with, an engagement. It also starts with challenging some of the traditional practices and cultural practices which reinforces toxic masculinity, which reinforces male entitlement, which says to the boy child that you are superior, which also challenges some people within our communities that the fact that I'm a father, the fact that I'm a breadwinner, the fact that I'm a pastor, for instance, does not preclude me from being morally and ethically challenged, does not preclude me from committing some of the crimes that we've seen. I mean, there's a case in point in PE where a pastor, I think Omotoso, was accused by members of the congregation of having committed sexual crimes and violence. And what did we see? We saw some parts of the church coming out to protest and support the victims, but others came out to support him. And these are the things, and this has got nothing to do with his guilt or innocence, but it has got to do with the stance that society has to take. We have to, at all material time, stand with the side of the victim.
Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time. Deputy Minister Buti Manamela saying also, sharing the same sentiment of the President that there needs to be a change in the psyche of men and society at large. Back to you in studio.
And that was our reporter, Busisiwe Jemsana-Mantashe.